Throughout its history, the Japanese sword has been treated with various meanings: as a weapon for samurai, as a work of art, and as a sacred object believed to be inhabited by gods. Throughout its long history, a variety of swords have been created, including those that demonstrate the incredibly high level of craftsmanship of the swordsmiths of the time, and those with astonishing shapes. Today, we will introduce 3 katana with unique features that still exist. Number 1. Fujiwara Kanenaga. This sword showcases the incredibly high skill of a master craftsman. It features the representative Japanese waka poem Hyakunin Ishu engraved in tiny characters on the blade. This sword is a wakizashi, a short sword, made by Fujiwara Kanenaga, a swordsmith who was active in the early 1900s. He was a leading swordsmith of his time, known for devising sword forging which uses stainless steel. In the early 1900s, Japanese swords carried to the harsh front lines of wars suffered from rust. On the front lines, facing the enemy, there was no time to leisurely care for swords. For the Navy, exposed to the corrosive effects of sea salt, the problem of rust was even more severe. No matter how sharp a Japanese sword may be, it is meaningless if rusted. Reflecting this situation, there was a demand for rust-resistant military swords. In response to this, Fujiwara Kanenaga began to develop stainless steel swords. Having previously succeeded in making stainless steel kitchen knives, he embarked on this new challenge. After much trial and error, Kanenaga finally completed a stainless steel sword. This sword overcame the historical weakness of Japanese swords, their susceptibility to rust, making it, in a sense, the final form of the Japanese sword. His stainless steel swords quickly spread and were widely adopted by the Japanese military. Kanenaga was also skilled in the art of sword engraving, creating several stainless steel swords of high artistic value. Even army generals of the time used his stainless steel swords, marking them as historically valuable. Interestingly, as the demand for swords declined, many swordsmiths turned to knife making, and the techniques developed for stainless steel swords were passed down to the creation of today's stainless steel kitchen knives. This sword is known as one of the existing pieces created by him, showcasing his astonishing craftsmanship as a swordsmith. The blade, which is only 12.36 inches long, is engraved with the Hyakunin Ishu poems and their poets. The characters are so small that they require a magnifying glass to be read. All 100 poets associated with these poems have been intricately carved into the sword. This piece, created about 100 years ago, was made entirely by hand. The mystery deepens as to how these engravings were achieved. The Hyakunin Ishu refers to a collection of poems from 100 poets from ancient Japan, each contributing one poem. These famous poets and their poems are still celebrated today through the game of karuta. The sword crafted by Kanenaga is currently on permanent display at the Sword Museum, Sekikaji Tradition Museum in Gifu Prefecture. Number 2. Ryusei-tou. Ryusei-tou, the Meteorite sword, is a highly unusual sword made in the 19th century, crafted from meteorite material. The inspiration for creating this sword came from a samurai named Enomoto Takeaki. Enomoto, who was also a politician, served as the plenipotentiary ambassador to Russia from 1874 for about 4 years. During his stay, he was shown a sword made from a meteorite that had been presented to the former Russian Emperor Alexander I, sparking his dream of creating a sword from meteorite. Having a strong interest in mineralogy and iron-making technology, it was natural for him to be intrigued by the idea of making a Japanese sword from meteorite material. A turning point came in 1890. A peculiar stone was discovered by someone searching for pickling stones in the upper reaches of a river in Toyama Prefecture. Due to its unusual heaviness for its size, further investigation revealed it to be a meteorite, a discovery confirmed academically. Upon hearing the news, Enomoto promptly purchased the meteorite at his own expense, immediately setting in motion the creation of a sword using the meteorite. He commissioned the master swordsmith, Okayoshi Kunimune. The forging process began, with about 8.8 pounds of iron being extracted from the meteorite for use in the sword's creation. This endeavor was the first of its kind in Japan, using meteorite to make a Japanese sword, and Kunimune faced challenges working with the softer meteorite iron compared to regular iron, even praying at shrines hoping for success. After much effort, a successful blend was achieved by mixing 70% meteorite iron with 30% tamahagane, the traditional steel used in sword making, forging a sword that was both durable and sharp. This resulted in the creation of 4 swords, named Ryusei-tou, meteorite swords, including both long and short swords. Initially, the swords were plain, but after polishing, a pattern resembling the grain of Zelkova wood emerged on the blades, displaying unique and beautiful temper patterns. The distinctiveness of these patterns, different from those on typical swords, moved Kunimune deeply, attributing them to the meteorite iron's unique properties. Moreover, in a document addressed to Enomoto, Kunimune mentioned the sword's exceptional sharpness, suggesting their practical usability. Of the 4 swords completed, 3 were given to Enomoto, and one of the long swords was presented to the crown prince of the time. Currently, one of these swords is housed in the Toyama City Science Museum, where it is featured in regular exhibitions. Number 3. Hajano Ontachi. Hajano Ontachi is known as the largest sword in Japan. It was crafted in the 19th century by a swordsmith named Fujiwara Kanenaga and 7 of his disciples. During the final years of the Edo period, in the city of Kuramatsu, Yamaguchi Prefecture, where Hanaoka Hachimangu Shrine is located, the ideology of revering the emperor and expelling barbarians, or Sonno-joi, was spreading and gaining traction among the samurai and local residents alike. This ideology centered on venerating the emperor as the rightful ruler of Japan and adopting a xenophobic stance towards foreigners. Around this time, the arrival of Commodore Matthew Perry with his armed fleet, an event known in Japan as the Black Ships, forced the country to confront the overwhelming military power of American warships. This event heightened the sense of crisis in Japan regarding foreign threats, spreading the ideology further. This ideology was in direct opposition to the ruling Tokugawa shogunate, which was moving towards opening the country, leading to conflicts throughout Japan. In 1859, to commemorate the 1150th anniversary of the founding of Hanaoka Hachimangu Shrine, a grand festival was planned. it was decided to create a sword for offering at the festival, embodying the wish to dispel malevolence and build a peaceful society. Thus, the sword was crafted to represent the idea of vanquishing evil and demonstrating righteousness, known as the Hajano Ontachi, Sword of Vanquishing Evil. Following the traditional sword-making methods, Kunitsuna insisted on creating this sword using the same techniques. With his disciples, he forged 2,480 pounds of iron sand. During the quenching process, a step in the sword-making process, the sword's immense size made it impossible to prepare enough water in the workshop. Instead, they dammed a river to immerse the sword for quenching. The finished sword boasts a blade length of about 136 inches, an overall length of about 183 inches, and weighs about 165 pounds, making it the largest sword ever made. This size reflects the people's desire for peace at the time. Additionally, it is evident that swords have been treated not only as weapons or art pieces, but also as sacred objects believed to be inhabited by gods. After its dedication at the Grand Festival, this sword was frequently used in festivals. Until around 1955, for about 20 years, it was carried through the town by a large group during the summer festival. It is said that the sight of 30 to 40 young men taking turns carrying the great sword was very heroic. In 1973, this sword was designated as the first tangible cultural property of Kuramatsu City. Today, the sword is stored in the treasure hall of Hanaoka Hachimangu Shrine and is publicly displayed about twice a year, including during the autumn festival, allowing people to witness its majestic appearance. We hope you enjoyed this exploration into the world of Japanese swords. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting content about the history of Japanese swords. Until next time, sayonara.